lost high ancient technology of fire and water to work granite, otherwise known as fire setting. This is the type of stuff the lost high ancient technology promoters, Lost History Channel, Mystery History Channel, Brian Foster, Uncharted X, DT, TV, and so forth won't tell you. They won't show you this because it's part of the scam. I'll link this video in the description. I've already posted one on how to work granite, the plug and feather technique. Despite what Chris Dunn says, you can split and you can remove copper cores and split granite with wood, with copper, or with steel. You can even do it even with rope. Apply pressure, pressure is pressure, and it'll split these. Whatever what they say, they're actually full of crap. They have to hide this because it will destroy the scam. But let's look at fire setting. So I've just taken a piece of granite, and only on a few minutes on my gas burner I've heated it up, and not for again just for a few minutes. This is a technique known as fire setting. You heat the granite up, you put it in water, and it cracks just like glass. On cold morning you throw boiling or warm water on it and it will crack, thermal fracturing. So I've heated the granite, dropped it into a pan of water, and well, it's also a hot rock technique. This is how I used to make warm water in the old days. But also we can see here how quickly the outside water is being evaporated off, but we also can see a crack that has emerged in there. The ancient elemental techniques of fire and water are so effective. Now I just took that stone out, and with a river pebble I started banging on it, and what happens? Now I'm holding the camera in one hand and I'm only loosely holding this pebble in the other hand, and what happens? The granite starts cracking and breaking up very, very quickly. Even with a fresh piece of granite and with a steel tool, this won't work. This is the example. This is, you can test it for yourself. It's the ancient technique. This is called fire setting. Productive, efficient, beautiful, working granite.
Okay, so we had a massive rock here that we couldn't remove. We hired a jackhammer, a 27 kilogram jackhammer. Nothing seemed to work. We wasted 2-3 days on the jackhammer. We broke I don't know how many drill bits of the jackhammer. Then we heard about fire setting to crack rock using heat and water. So here we've just made a giant fire around the rock. We opened up the space around the rock and made a giant fire just with leftover wood of trees that we had killed on the site. And the fire's been going for about an hour, just over an hour, and just with the heat alone the rock seems to snap off naturally. So a massive rock that we couldn't clear with a sledgehammer now gets cleared easily. It's cracking, so let me get in there and make some. Just hold the chair and film when I get in there.
Get the hammer. It's hot. With the hammer.
So that's how you break a massive rock using fire. Good luck.
Wow! Fire setting works. I'll link other videos in the description where they have larger boulders and break that up. It simply is a fact. It's a fact that the lost high ancient technology people, it's a must that they do not show you these, or when they do mention it, they frame it in a way to minimize it. For instance, the Uncharted X, when talking with Plug and Feather, he said hopefully it will split along the line. It will always split along the line. That is the nature of granite. Granite, more than any other stone, will split along those lines. Fire setting, you can remove a huge amount of granite in a very small time with a small crew. These are the things that they must hide from you to promote, to protect their narrative, their false narrative. I'll also link this video in the description, which is Scam YS episode 4. Impossible. Well, it's in French, but basically it goes into, well, many aspects, but the work in granite. So, for instance, they go to Egypt and they use the fire setting technique. Again, these are the things that snake oil merchants, because they actually mention Brian Foster in this particular video as well. This is the scam that this whole crew need to conceal, to suppress. They accuse the mainstream that the mainstream archaeologists don't look into this and they don't do that. That is just a lie. There are published papers, videos, etc. showing this. Now we'll get into how much you can remove just with these stone hammers, diorite balls, but the fire setting technique as well. How quickly you can remove large amounts of stone, quite easy with a small crew. Again, the granite, they say, well, it must be machinery, advanced precision, high-powered machinery. There was power, everything was a power plant. But here we see examples of the damage done by the fire technique. Go to a granite face, you set a fire to it, and then you start pounding it. Not only is the evidence there, it's still better than hiring jackhammers and drills to do this. Now, when people, I've dealt with it in the comments so many times, oh, but it took me hours and hours to drill or to break up a piece of granite, because you were not looking at the ancient techniques, you're looking at the modern stuff. You're obsessed with modern technology and you think, well, modern technology can't. Ancient technology, ancient practices of Stone Age people, Stone Age people knew something about stone. This is another constant meme that they produce. How did Stone Age people do this? Because they were Stone Age people and they knew about stone. We don't. We hire cranes, we hire jackhammers because we've lost touch with the primitive ancient techniques. Here is an example, another one of fire setting. You set a fire above the stone, light it on fire, and you throw water on it. The thermal shock creates cracks, and then with a stone hammer you remove large amounts of stone very, very easily. It just works, and the evidence of it can be again found across the ancient world because it leaves telltale signs. For instance, those giant spheres in Costa Rica have those types of signature marks on it. You'll find it also in South America, where you see these melted stone marks are actually damage done by fire setting. Someone set a fire there, they've thrown water on it, and it cracks off. We'll look at other examples of this as well. This is, here we see, set fire to it, you start banging on it, we just saw it there. The stone fractures. It's a brilliant, simple technique, and and as we saw earlier, people buy higher modern tech, and it takes them days and they can't do it. With a couple of hours using ancient techniques, it works. That's how it. That's why the ancient quarry sites are strewn with these ancient primitive tools, because that's what they had, and they actually work better once you know how to use them. This is the lost high ancient technology scam, and it is a scam. It's a fraud, and they need to conceal this from you. Fire setting is no big secret. It can be found in Wikipedia. It's mentioned in De Re Metallica by George Agricole. It is just an ancient technique. It can be found everywhere up until recent times. I'll link a couple of articles by Stormy, who goes into this as well. And for instance, the scoop marks, as the impossible scoop marks, as they described, it's fire and water. It's the elemental forces of nature known since prehistory. Strabo describes the destruction of Heliopolis by Cambyses, where he says which affords the many evidences of the madness and sacrilege of Cambyses, who partly by fire and partly by iron sought to outrage the temples, mutilating them and burning them on every side, just as he did with the obelisks, the destruction of Egyptian sites by Cambyses. Strabo also visited Thebes, where he talks again about the mad king Cambyses, who mutilated the temples of the area. Also describes the colossi of Memnon. Now, it is said, these were damaged by an earthquake. This is clearly not earthquake damage because, well, we'll see a close-up. Earthquakes don't work like this. This is just not the way that it happens. It was these hard stones. Now, the one on the right was sandstone repair by the Romans, but the one on the left we still see, and we can clearly see the damage. This is not by an earthquake. This is done by fire setting. This is the same pattern, and it can be seen in many other places, including in South America as well, where it's often described as magical stone softening, lost high technology again. It's also one of the constant themes is that, especially Brian Foster will sell, is that it was an ancient cataclysm destroyed these sites in Egypt. Now it's weird that this cosmic event just happened to target specific sites and ignored everything else. This is remarkable, you know. If it wasn't so convincing, I'd say it was lunacy or just snake oil that he could say this in public. And it is, well, it's ridiculous. And again, it's part of a plan to conceal and to suppress information. Now, as Goebbels said, accuse the opposition of what you do yourself. So this is what this lost high ancient technology crowd depend on, not including all this information, using a whole load of emotive arguments, then mixing it with other, the mainstream archaeologists don't look at this, they don't look at that, they don't look at the marks. This is just not true. There are the published papers, videos, it's all available, but they will tell you this over and over again because it destroys, if they were to tell you the truth, it would destroy their scam in regards to lost ancient high technology, precision machining, or more likely, the kinder version would be that it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, that they don't understand these things. They claim to be researchers, they claim to know, but, well, they don't, because they don't show you these. And then they mix it up with a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense. I'll link this article as well in the description. The Temple of Karnak and possibly its worst tour guide. No surprise, it's Brian Foster and Awan Youssef of the Kemet School. But what has been shown just by, instead of a power router, as Brian Foster describes, just with these diorite hammers, a team of 130 workers in less than a year could carve out the unfinished obelisk at Aswan there as well. We also here have the scoop marks. Now at these ancient quarry sites, the tools, the simple Stone Age tools, litter these sites. This is never shown. They're all over the place. They were brought in specifically for it. We'll also see these marks in other places such as South America. Fire setting marks. Not ancient technology, not lost high ancient technology, because there's no evidence for that, but we have the tools and we have the telltale marks as well left there on site. Okay, it's worth repeating, just with these diorite hammers which are strewn across these ancient quarry sites, the amount of stone that has been tested and shown. So the unfinished obelisk at Aswan, which is described as taking huge amounts of time with all these workers and can't be done without precision machinery, with Stone Age techniques, not even including fire setting. About 130 workers working 8 hours a day could do it in about 1 year's time. This can be you can grab a piece of granite and pound on it with a rock and see how much is removed. But of course, well, lost high ancient technology.
Okay, so we had a massive rock here that we couldn't remove. We hired a jackhammer, a 27 kilogram jackhammer. Nothing seemed to work. We wasted 2-3 days on the jackhammer. We broke I don't know how many drill bits of the jackhammer. Then we heard about fire setting to crack rock using heat and water. So here we've just made a giant fire around the rock. We opened up the space around the rock and made a giant fire just with leftover wood of trees that we had killed on the site. And the fire's been going.
Og der, ja. Der skjedde det noe. Nå står den og bare balanserer oppå den i bånd. Den er også løs, skjønner du. Nei, gjør ikke det. Oi, oi.
I am the god of hellfire!